Hey, beautiful people of the internet, how are you guys doing today? Hopefully great, and welcome back to another Warframe video. Of course, we do want to talk about Wukong, aka the Monkey King of Warframe. Now, if you guys didn't know, previously I've already made a Wukong video, except this is a much more powerful build, and of course it's a more of an energy efficiency build. I wouldn't say it's that much energy efficient, but it does make your life a little bit more convenient. But I will tell you, the damage is a lot more consistent and you don't have to jump through multiple hoops just to go and deal a lot of damage. But I will say, if you guys would like to learn more about Wukong, because I'm not going to be going over him in that much detail. I don't know about you guys, but yours truly does not like repeating himself. But hey, if you guys want to know exactly how Wukong works, or how he works in general, then I highly recommend you guys go ahead and take a look at the previous video. There will be a link in the description or top right, depending on whichever one is a lot more convenient for you guys. But before I continue with the video any further, if you guys like to support me or the channel any further, do remember to leave a like on this video. It always helps me out substantially. And remember to Spartan click the subscribe button for more Warframe videos and streams, as yours truly is trying to go and do YouTube full time. Without further ado, let's get this video on the road, shall we? Alright, so here I'm going to talk to you guys exactly on the details of my particular Wukong build. So I want you guys to take a look at the right here, and as you guys can tell, we have all 5 Crimson Archon shards, and each and every single shard is going to increase our overall melee critical damage, mainly because, you know, the Iron Staff is considered a melee weapon of some sort, so it only makes sense to go and add more melee critical damage. That being said, I also want to talk to you guys about the abilities, and I do want to say that we are going to be using Helmet, and the particular ability we're going to be using is called Wrathful Advance. We're mostly interested in the tapping ability. So essentially what happens is, you're going to be looking at an enemy, you push your number 1 ability and you're going to teleport in front of them. Doing so, you'll then be able to go and do a heavy attack. Doing a heavy attack will also trigger the ability itself, which will allow you to have 199% critical chance for a duration of 27.3 seconds. Now, the reason why the numbers are the way they are is because, you know, A, this ability does scale with power strength, and B, it also does scale with duration. So this is the build for Wukong, and I do want to talk to you guys about a couple of things. First and foremost, as you guys can tell, we have prioritizing power strength and duration, with sacrificing both efficiency and range. So the first thing I do want to let you guys know that 1, range is entirely redundant when it comes to using your Primal Fury. There is no such thing as range on the Primal Fury itself. As you guys can tell, there's no range stat whatsoever, just a drain and damage. Secondly is, a lot of people are probably going to think that by adding a lot of power strength, we're going to be unnecessarily increasing our critical chance. That may be true, but do remember this. The more power strength we add, not only do we add even more critical chance, but we're also going to be adding more base damage. Now, with that being said, let's go over the build itself. So we have invested 1 Forma, and just like every other build video, I have no idea, or I don't remember exactly which polarity I went and decided to go and replace. But as you guys can tell, it's most likely not an aura, but we do have growing power for more power strength because, you know, more damage. And we're going to be rolling around with a D and 2 Vs along with a dash. Now, adaptation is to allow us to tank a lot of the damage, because at the end of the day, even though, you know, Wukong is very tanky, kind of, it's just that if you go through all of his passives, it's a one-time use. Adaptation is just going to allow us to go and resist any form of damage that is thrown at us, whether it's physical or elemental. It's going to make our life so much easier. And also to combat the negative efficiency, because let me tell you, our number 4 and also occasionally activating Wrathful Advance is going to absolutely obliterate our, you know, energy economy. So what we're going to do is we've paired adaptation with Hunter Adrenaline. A great option is Rage as well, but you know, Hunter Adrenaline is a little bit more effective. It's like 5% of a difference, so I don't know if you guys want to see that much of a difference, but hey, to me personally, whichever one takes the least amount of mod capacity, I think that's the most valuable one. But at the end of the day, they both take the exact same, so I figured I'll take 5% extra, you know, energy based on health damage. So these two work wonders together. Primed flow, so therefore we have a much bigger energy pool to use, so you know, therefore our Primal Fury can last substantially longer. The same thing can be said with Prime Continuity and Narrow-Minded. Funny thing is that narrow-minded, or duration and efficiency, is a big playing factor when it comes to making sure that your drain per second is lower. Efficiency is as well, but the big one is duration. But I mean, because of Hunter Adrenaline, Adaptation, Primed Flow, we're going to have a pretty good time at keeping our Primal Fury up at a continuous basis. You don't have to worry about that. Blind Rage just to go and increase our overall power strength. Therefore, we can have a lot more critical chance and more damage. At the end of the day, like I've been saying throughout this entire video, we want to see big boy numbers. And finally, duration, for more longevity and vitality. Therefore, we can once again, utilize Adaptation and Hunter Adrenaline relatively great. Next up in the Arcanes department, we are going to go with the following two Arcanes. Molt Augmented to give us 60% more power strength if we then go and kill 250 enemies. And finally, we are going to be using Arcane Fury. Unfortunately, your boy is not cool enough to go and have the rank 5 version. So fun fact, you can actually go and mod your exalted weapon directly. Speaking of mods, here is the build itself. So for the aura, you don't have to worry about too much. This is going to be the staff or the stance that you're going to be using for your melee weapon. This particular mod is add-on by default. So we're essentially just going for a crit based build. So we've got prime pressure point for our melee damage. If you guys want, you can then go and add faction multipliers. That's okay too. The reason why I haven't done is because I don't have the prime variant, so I'm not going to go and do so. So I'm just going to be rolling around with primed pressure point. That, and also I don't always want to keep changing my build itself. It's just annoying. So I'm just happy with the way it is. Organ Shatter for more critical damage because, we want to go and see those big boy numbers. The same can be said with Galvanized Steel. However, it gives us more critical chance. And also, if we then go and get ourselves 4 kills, we'll be increasing our critical damage by like another, I believe, let's see, 120%. So remember, the more critical damage you have, the bigger the numbers are going to be when you then go and crit. Next up is we are going to be utilizing Condition Overload for more damage. In this case, we're going to be getting 80% more melee damage per status type that's affecting the target. Fever Strike and Northwind for viral because viral is the most effective when it comes to taking out armor. Prime Reach, therefore we can then go and increase our overall reach when it comes to the entire map. With Prime Reach, you are able to actually wipe out entire rooms relatively easy because thanks to Primal Fury, you actually have a lot of reach and of course multiple strikes. And finally, we are going to be moving on to Berserker Fury, which is going to increase our melee attack speed by, I believe, 70% if we then go and get a kill. Now, this particular mod does refresh. The nice thing is, think of it as fire rate for your weapons, except we can always swing and there is no stamina bar. Thank goodness. And finally, moving on to the Arcane itself, we are going to be rolling around with Melee Exposure. This particular Arcane is actually going to give us even more corrosive damage on our melee strikes, which stacks up to 240%. So in other words, our melee weapon is going to be engulfed in both viral and corrosive, all because of melee exposure and of course the elemental mods of our choice. Alright, so as for our companion, we are going to be using Diegra. Diegra is going to allow us to take full advantage of Condition Overload, which is going to make us deal a lot more damage. So as you guys can tell, we have Diegra, and of course we are going to be using the Hellstrom to prime the enemies. So the build for Diegra itself is as follows, nothing too fancy, but prime regen, therefore we can actually come back to life. We also do have Duplex, which actually clones the enemy or clones itself, and also it actually allows us to drop energy orbs if they then go and get themselves a kill, which is actually a very solid utility if you ask me. We also do have Motius Bond, I think that's how you pronounce it, Motius Bond. Basically, if you can go and kill an Eximus, then random elemental chance will then be spread to to our companion. Electro Pulse and Arc Coil to then go and hit the enemies with even more elemental damage. Assault Mode to actually start attacking. Manifold to then attack the enemies with even more elemental damage. Contagious Bond, which is then gonna it's more stay stuff, so it's just going to spread even more with a, you know, it's going to spread with like a more 50% radius or 50% effectiveness within a 9-meter radius, and of course Coolant Leak to then hit them with even more elemental damage. The Hellstrom, all I've done is I've spread with gas and even more cold. We don't have gas when it comes to the companion itself, so it's going to be even more damage because, you know, once again, thanks to condition overload, the more different types of status effects affecting multiple targets, the more damage we are going to be dealing with. And the nice thing with gas is that we're actually able to then go and have AoE on top of everything else. So currently we're in the Simulacrum, and of course I'll be showing you guys exactly how this particular build does work. So we simply want to then go and spawn our dummies, activate our 4th ability to make sure that we actually use it, activate our first so that way we're in red crit territory, and start going ham on the enemies. As you guys can tell, thanks to the Prime Reach mod, we are able to then go and hit the enemies from a relatively far distance. And the best part is we haven't even maxed out our Molt Augmented, nor have we actually maxed out, you know, exposure, which is on our melee weapon, because remember, you get 240% extra. So once again, make sure that you hit them with your heavy attacks, so therefore we're in red crit territory, and then start decimating them like so. And I will say a lot of our damage does come from condition overload, so because, you know, that's all thanks to just actually hitting the enemies with a whole bunch of elemental damage. Ladies and gentlemen, I make some pretty awesome Warframe content, so if you guys like to go from 0 to hero as fast as humanly possible, I highly recommend you guys go ahead and take a look at the rest of my videos. There'll be some links down in the description, and of course some of them will be suggested to you guys at the top right. So once again, I highly recommend you guys go ahead and take a look at them. Do remember to leave a like on this video, it always helps me out substantially. Spartan, click the subscribe button for more Warframe videos and streams, as I am trying to do YouTube full time and bring you guys some absolutely astonishing content.